But like the thing I was kind of like grappling with during it is I could tell I was getting really tired, like just during this time period. And like, you know how it is. It's like when you're like after you get rest and stuff, you feel better and you're like, okay, like we got through it. Things weren't as bad as it was. But like when you're in like those moments where you're just exhausted, like trying to grind away, that can be like tough. And I was kind of trying to like grapple in my head. I'm like, oh, like I have so much going on. And like on one side, of my brain, it's almost like the devil and the angel. The devil's just like, you like I've been doing so much lately. I'm exhausted. Can I catch a break? But like the good side of me was just like I can see the value in everything we're doing. And even though I'm like, no, I'm just tired and stuff now, just in
Mhm.
terms of making sure everything gets through the deadline, like doing the support stuff, I'll appreciate it in the long run because, and this is something that I always want to keep into perspective. Like 2 years ago, I wasn't working in tech and like it was my like dream to get here. And we've had like a lot of opportunity and just we like are treated great. We have a great environment to build these skills that are applicable both to our jobs now and wherever our careers take us.
Mhm.
So like at least for me, it's like I don't have an answer to like the whole like if I could do something differently because at the end of the day, it's like I've been going like pretty hard lately and like also putting time in on like on the weekends and like having longer days. So my kind of solution to like thinking about it wasn't like, oh, if I was like less lazy or say if I was a little bit better of time management, because I'm like, I was kind of maxing those things out already. But I
Mhm.
think kind of like if there was like a lesson that I learned from just going through like our two crunch weeks, it was
Mhm.
more so like, hey, you can't really help the fact that you're going to be a little like pissy and cranky because we're all human and we only have so much energy. But if you kind of keep the reason, at least in your head, when you're going through that, like why you're doing these things and like what's the important of it, and like there was this book I read recently. I think it's called The Science of Getting Rich or like something along those lines. And I heard a lot of really smart, intelligent, successful, wealthy people like recommend the book. And when I was younger, I think, and I'll get to like what the main message is in a second. Like when I was younger, I would poo-poo the main message, but the older I get, the more I realize like how much putting yourself in certain mindsets is really helpful.
Mhm.
And like understanding the value of it. And like essentially the core message of this like book on like the science of getting rich is like, look, it all boils down to having gratitude. Like no matter what your situation is, who you're interacting with, like we're not going to be perfect. It's like a muscle you have to build. But if you're able to keep that like mind of gratitude of like no matter what state you're in, like how bad things are going, and like and even if it has to be like retrospective, because like we're not always going to be like muddling our way through mud, falling on our face, being like, wow, I'm really like gracious for this. Like no, it's like it's something that maybe you feel it right in the moment, maybe you feel it at the end of the day when it's over. But if you at least like find room to go like, okay, how does this fit in a positive way into the bigger picture of everything? Like not only does it kind of help get your mind off the negative side of things, but it also helps like nullify that kind of like pain, tiredness, etc. too. Because it's like, okay, it's like there is a purpose and meaning to this. I'm not just like meaninglessly suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I was kind of curious if you kind of like what your whole thoughts were with like how you were handling like your crunch because I feel like our weeks were kind of reversed where you had
Mhm.
the busy like your deadlines and stuff week 2 weeks ago. That was my live lab support week. And then
Mhm.
we switched because you had your live lab support week last week. And
Yeah.
that's when I was like dealing with all my like busy deadlines and stuff.
Yeah. I feel like overall, for example, like I don't mind like having busy weeks, right? Like I'll maybe for example, like I'll start my day at around 9:30 and finish my day at around 7:30, 8, like finish actually close my my laptop, and I don't mind that because, like during the day I'll walk my dog, or normally it's just walking my dog to be honest, or I'll take a break to eat, let's say, right? But I'm like calmly doing my work and I'm making sure that I'm doing it right, right? So I'm not rushing throughout the day and I don't mind doing that. But when like last week, you saying all of this kind of like opened my eyes, because last week I was in like I was hating my life, to be honest, you know. I was like so over everything.
Uh-huh.
I was like just over everything. I couldn't even like stand myself, let's say, you know. So I feel like at the end of the week when I was talking to my manager, um I was kind of like, you know what, like I am grateful that I have this chance to do these things, you know, like live lab support and all this stuff. But while I was in the process, I was like, this is so much. Like I cannot do this and my job and meet all my deadlines and be creative and have time for myself and eat right and walk my dog, you know, like it was a lot, you know. And then I stepped back and I was talking to my manager and I was like, you know what, maybe like next time that I do, for example, live lab support, I'll be faster because, you know, I know what to do exactly. I'm not like figuring out stuff. And this is a great opportunity for me to just talk to other people outside of my group, you know. I'm able to help people from, I don't know, like so many people actually, like people that I've never heard of outside of PM, outside of sales, are creating, you know, live labs, and it's nice to talk to them, right? Because like I actually got in calls to help people troubleshoot some of their stuff, you know. So it is important to be grateful. It's just sometimes we as humans, we get like tired and stressed, and you know, sometimes you're not delivering what you want. Like I'm also working on a chatbot for another project, and like I'm not really sure if I can share right now, you know, because it hasn't been released. But that was another thing that was pressing me because I wanted to learn and do as good as possible, but I felt like I wasn't really learning what I was doing because it's something new for me. I was actually just executing, right? Like delivering what I had to deliver, you know, and sometimes it wasn't what I wanted, you know. So sometimes having that pressure is not like the best, but at the same time, maybe that's the way you get things done like really, really fast and work under pressure. And it's also normal to have these weeks every once in a while. Like it just happens, you know, like even if we didn't have this live labs assistance, like I've been in that situation where I have to do multiple things in one week. So
Yeah.
it's a good skill to have, to be able to manage your time as good as possible. And if one week you have a week where you are not able to, you know, do everything that you want to do, like it's okay. But prioritizing is really important.